Today, I had the opportunity to talk to Jamie Ferguson. Jamie is a freelance photographer. He is a husband, he is a father, he is a member at CrossFit Ballymena. He's a fascinating individual. We got talking about change in uncertain times. We got talking about careers, family, balance, all sorts of good stuff. If you want to check out Jamie, he is on Instagram at JKF_man. He's got some awesome content there. We talked a little bit about that too. Join us, share some love, hopefully learn something, and have a good laugh doing it. Enjoy. Jamie. Qu'est-ce que ça?
Yeah, man. Sorry, bear with me. I'm about to do an interview. There we go. That shit. There we go. How's it going?
All good, man. All good. What about yourself?
I'm going crazy, dude. No, I'm all right. No, things have been good. We had a bit of a nightmare. To cut a long story short, we had a bit of a nightmare. We were in Australia basically 2 weeks before lockdown happened.
Yeah, I remember you heading out there.
So it was kind of, things were starting to kick off when we were heading out. But that was more, not necessarily here, that was more kind of in, Singapore and stuff, which is where we were traveling through. So we were a bit like, ugh. There was all this kind of shit where we're like, are we going to make it out? Like, is it worth, I mean, I think I was saying this when we were at the gym, it was just about like, we couldn't get the refund back from travel insurance, etc. So we were just like, oh, fuck. So we risked it. It was fine. Absolutely no problem getting out there. And then it was, so we were supposed to leave on the Friday. And I randomly checked the airline that we were traveling back with, Singapore Airlines, their site, just to kind of, we had since actually, just because people were kind of, my family and Nikita were starting to get a bit antsy about should we even leave it that long? Let's see if we'll get 2 nights in Singapore, because we were worried about Australia getting locked down then. And so we were like, we'll get 2 nights extend the 1 night that we had overnight in Singapore. We'll get 2 nights at the hotel where we're at. Means that we can chill a little bit more, and that'll be good. And then as I was randomly checking on the site, just to kind of, so we bought those tickets with Virgin Australia to kind of just go from Perth to Singapore. And then randomly on the weekend, just before we were supposed to go, I checked the Singapore Airlines flight, and there was a little announcement buried within all the COVID-19 stuff where they were like, we are closing down Singapore Airport for short-term and transit passengers. Oh. And so I showed this to my sister, and I was just like, does this mean what I think it means? And she was just like, yeah, this was 2:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. We booked the 5:30 flight straight from Singapore to London. Not straight, but on the same airline. And had to stay overnight Sunday night in Singapore, and then flew out 9:30 in the morning from Singapore back to London. Otherwise, we would have been stuck in Singapore or stuck in Australia. We wouldn't have been able to get back. Jeez. And so we got fucking dinged, understandably. Which at the time I was like, I had basically my first panic attack, which I was just kind of like I can't deal with this. And then, because it just it literally my sister was like, get your shit together, pack all your stuff, and I'll drive you to the airport. And so we packed in half an hour, and it was just stuff like Noah's at the table with his uncle, and he's just he didn't really know what was going on, and I could hear him, and that was really upsetting me. And I was just kind of because he was just kind of, he wasn't upset or anything like that. He was just a bit confused. He was just like, what? He's like, I don't want to go. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go either, bud. But then the minute we got to the airport, I was kind of I got back in the zone and was just kind of right, okay. And then we were fine. So yeah, and so we got back, and it was weird. Absolutely no issue getting back. Dead everywhere. Really eerie. like so apocalyptic. It's nuts.
So weird, right?
Especially Heathrow, like no shops open. Everybody's in like basically masks or like full body suits, like painters masks and stuff, goggles, and I'm just kind of like
Oxygen tanks.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I was just like blacked out, like and so and then so then we kind of got back here, and it's been weird. It's just been normal in the sense of everything else, but like just being here. And then so Kita was working for the first 2 weeks from home, and then she got furloughed. So we've both just been. I've had like the odd assignment come through from magazines where they're kind of like either buying photos or doing that kind of, I don't know, I think Beck's seen a bit of it, but the at home, the studio stuff, like where I'm just prancing around in my clothes. I've had like a few assignments, commissions from magazines, like who are just like, can you do this? This is basically what I've been doing, but illustrate these points. So I've done a few of those. Other than that, it's just been like, it's just been hanging out with family, which has been, it's been nice in a way, but it's now like this is end of week 9 or something like that. I can't believe it's Thursday. I'm just like, it's like this thing where I'm like, I don't know. Like there was just so much, like, I'm sure everybody's complaining about this, and like, I'm sure, like everybody's got their own, but it's that thing where it's just like, I was like, fuck 2020. 2020 is gonna be awesome, man. And then it's like, fuck 2020. 2020 has been ridiculous.
Suck a dick.
2020. I mean, basically, it's just like, it's been so, like the book came out in October. I kind of done a bit of promotion with that, and it was kind of just like ramping up for like the next, whatever the next thing was. And then this is just like, when I got back from Australia, the idea was just like, right, like let's get on it and do it. And then this is just like killed everything. Literally.
Yeah. In so many ways.
Awkward. How about you?
Too soon.
Yeah. How have you guys been?
Yeah, good. So, lots of change.
Yeah.
But funny, I was chatting with Mark Higgins earlier on today, and he said it seems like you are, as in me, are busier than normal. And I guess I kind of took the attitude of, this is a real cool opportunity. I can either waste it, or I can use it to fix all the stuff that I was trying to before, but there was so much other stuff bogging me down, whereas now I can actually just full on commit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the thing else, that was one of the reasons why I started doing the studio stuff, was like I'd set that up before Christmas and hadn't really done much with the idea of being like, right, I'm gonna experiment, I can get better at lighting, etc. And then just never. I did one shoot with a friend who came over, but just never had time really to kind of like, because it's fucking exhausting, like like testing stuff, and then you're kind of like, oh, why is this not working? And then this just kind of gave me the opportunity to be like, right, this is the style I'd like to kind of see if I could replicate, and then got something near to what I was wanting to do, and then was just like, was less like I've had to do a few interviews about it, like where people kind of like, why have you started doing it, and blah blah. And I was just kind of like, well, I had nobody else to shoot. Like I was like, I wanted to kind of still be creative and still keep your hand in stuff and try to earn money still. And I was the only quote unquote model available, which I was just like,
why not?
Which
so I guess a bit of reference for other people that decide to listen to this. How did lockdown specifically affect you? You're a photographer.
Mm.
You're self-employed.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in a weird situation where all of your business is effectively cut off because you can't really travel.
Yep.
And so you've got your studio set up at home, which sounds awesome. A little bit to think with.
It's literally like white paper couple lights. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. Sweet. It's a dreamatorium.
Yeah.
And it's a community reference in case you didn't get it.
I'm there. I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah. So from an income point of view, you have your photography business and there's no other side projects, hustles, drug dealings, any of that kind of
I mean, yeah, no, everything's pretty much wrapped up in, everything's wrapped up in that. Like,
and your book.
It's weird because, like, so I've been working in menswear essentially for like the last 10, 11 years or so. And then been working at freelance as a photographer within the niche of menswear for the last 5. And so the first like 3 or 4 years, I was pretty much photographer. That's all I was doing, was taking pictures, etc. And then just in the last year, as more and more people become aware of who I am and what I'm doing, I then start doing a few other bits and pieces where it's like a bit of writing on, but again, all to do with menswear, a bit of writing on that, a bit of maybe styling, whatever, etc. So it's kind of slightly broadened the aspects of what I do. So it's not maybe just photography now, even though it's that's still like 98% of what I do.
Sure.
But in terms of lockdown, I mean, all of that got shut off. Like I had 6 shoots, 8 shoots booked. Like you say, I was having to travel for those. I'm even just traveling over to London. So we had a couple, couple in London, Italy, and a few other places. And yeah, those all, understandably, they were all canceled with no kind of, I mean, I always remember the first kind of conversations where people, even because I was kind of just like having just to have this horror trip back from Australia, I was like very hesitant to try to even travel again. And so even the clients that I was kind of saying to them, kind of just like, look, this is mental. I don't, and they were kind of still optimistic. They're like, okay, well, let's just see. We'll wait until it happens. I'm like, this is not going to happen. Like, this is going to get.
Listen, it's just not happening.
Trust me. Like I've seen it firsthand, like up close. It's good. And so and then eventually, all that kind of got canceled. Lockdown came into full effect. Was it like the 23rd or something like that? It was probably.
Yeah, it seemed to be sort of phasing, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, everyone go home.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so I mean, that all kind of happened, and the weird thing is like, because like my work is so, I'm not shooting, like I shoot for people regularly, but I have regular clients, but the work isn't necessarily like, every once a month I'm doing this. So I'm kind of fairly used to the kind of the peaks and troughs of the job anyway. And because for the last 2 years I've been working flat out to shoot and bring out and publish this book, the break in Australia, like going to go see family and stuff, this was almost like started off as an extension of that, where I was kind of just like, I needed to, like, I hadn't been, apart from like Christmas, like I was just flat out, and you have to work weekends as well. So it's just like, you're working night and day, weekends, you don't really get time for friends and family. And so I was just like, right, great. I got to spend a lot of time with, I was able to spend a lot of time with my son, with Noah, which was great. And then so after about 2 or 3 weeks of that, we were kind of just like, then I started looking for kind of a few other, wanted to start experimenting with the lighting in the studio and stuff like that. And then as I say, a few things, people kind of saw a few of what I was doing and kind of got in touch and were wanting to and commission work through that, which in a way was fun because I hadn't particularly set out to do that. It was kind of just like, I'll put this out there, people like it, it's cool, but it was more for me. So that was kind of, so it's been good. Yeah, it's been interesting.
I think what's interesting about that is that you were able to, so the great unknown, back's kind of against the wall. It's like there's no money coming in, but actually in a way that's really good because I can spend time with my family. I can rebuild those relationships that maybe hadn't been a priority
Sure.
or couldn't have been because of work or whatever. So how can I be creative now, stay true to my brand, but still, enjoy it? And you sort of maybe developed or rediscovered your enjoyment for what you've been doing.
It was nice to, certainly. I mean, it was nice in a way to kind of add another element to what I do, because I'd never really tried much or done much studio photography. Like, a lot of my photography is natural light, reportage kind of style stuff, with street style shooting, and so I've never really never really done much of that. So they kind of have the opportunity to kind of just to kind of explore that a little bit in a kind of a basic way, just to kind of get some simple basics down so I understand it on my own, has been.
And just sort of build a picture here. Studio photography, for those that don't know, there's basically a colored screen that comes down behind, which in your case is white.
Yeah.
You've got about a bazillion massive lights about an inch from your face, and then somehow the camera seems to like shoot between them, and you don't get any of the lights in the shot.
Basically, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of weird because it's like there's stuff. I mean, the issue I've always had with photography, having never studied it or never trained in it, self-taught, is that there's so much information available online, it's a phenomenal resource and tool. The problem is sifting through all of that, and I've always found that with certain industries, photography being one of them, there's so much technical instruction out there, and I'm kind of just like, no, can you please just, I don't need pixel counting, I don't need, people always talk about like light manipulation and all this other kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I'm basically like, I want somewhere where I can almost just like show a picture of something I've seen and be like, how do I do this? And very rarely have I come across any site that does that. And so luckily, being in the industry, I've got other photographer friends, and so I reached out to a couple of them, which is kind of like, hey, I saw your work. And because photographers can be incredibly protective over their editing style or how they shoot something, because obviously, especially in today's day and age, another person somebody can come along and just like undercut their do what they do it cheaper, and then get their work or whatever. So I understand everybody wanting to be very protective, so I very cautiously kind of reached out to a few friends that were kind of that I thought would be open to sharing this with me, and they very kindly did. Because you can do stuff that's like, like Vanity Fair, like Oscar shoots there, or for the magazine cover or whatever, that it's like 12 people, 12 Hollywood A-list stars on the cover, you're stitching photos together or whatever, or even just lighting 12 people. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's just like, I've never had the need to do that. I just want to be able, how do you light one person and make it look natural, rather than a kind of like that flash kind of, look. And and so like my friend gave me kind of a basic idea, and I was kind of like, right, I'm going to take this and then kind of you start experimenting a bit, and you kind of set up shooting on your laptop, so you can kind of be like, immediately see, you're like, okay, I need to change this here, how do I get rid of this? And it's like everything, every aspect of my career as a photographer has been trial and error. It's been kind of figuring out what works for me and how to achieve the look I want, just through basically making a ton of mistakes.
And so that seems to be the technical element of that I'm super excited about, but I'm trying to stay away from it because I get pretty nerdy.
Sure, we could go deep. We could go deep with that.
Yeah. But from what you're saying there, because so much of it is self-taught and trial and error, and you kind of go with what you like, is that kind of how you find your brand, and why people like you is obviously because you're quite true to yourself?
It's a funny thing. I think you could go so deep on so many aspects of this. But certainly I think in terms of what I do, a lot of that is tied into Instagram. And that's how I, not in a sense, not actively marketed myself, but certainly it was in terms of me working in a visual medium, was an incredible tool resource to be able to like show my work and get it out there and get it in front of brands that maybe wouldn't have necessarily been able to see my work before. Like I'm not represented by an agency. And so, yeah, to be able to kind of put that work in front of them now, just through that, like they can come across. I've gotten lots of work by people reaching out and kind of getting in touch and being like, "Oh, hey, we saw this. This is great." And I think something that and so it's weird having that tool, but then I've really tried to not actively market myself on there or the work or my job on there or the work, because I think it's a dangerous road to go down. Like I understand people, have been able to make careers and are making lots of some of them are making decent money out of, but it's that kind of they're constantly needing to post content. They're constantly needing to kind of feed that beast, whatever that may be, whether that be content, stories, answering comments, whatever it is. And I never particularly wanted to do that. And I always wanted to just be able to show the work, the stuff I was shooting, and just to be able to put up stuff that I liked, not to be under any obligation by a brand or whatever, to kind of be like, paid partnerships or ads or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've done a couple of those, but that's, again, it's always with brands or in companies that I feel comfortable working with, that I feel are like, no, I respect what they do. I would have done this anyway.
There's a lot of confidence kind of coming out of this. Where did you get that confidence from in the first place?
It's trial and error, probably. Again, I mean, certainly it's a bunch of stuff. It's like I've always been, I don't know, I've always, maybe not necessarily confident. I'm always, before I started working in menswear, I worked as an actor. Went to drama school, and before that I was in law school. So I've been in various different worlds, kind of like, and certainly kind of maybe subconsciously what I learned through the acting or picked up, or I think I was probably like this anyway, through lots of stuff. It's like all your life experiences, etc. Like as a family, we traveled around quite a bit. So we were thrown into a lot of situations where, like, new schools, meeting new people all the time. And so I think one of my strengths, and something that I've certainly become aware of in the last decade, is my adaptability in different social situations. And it's just a case of,
that sort of adaptability, did you watch it from your parents, or did you kind of?
No, as I say, it wasn't ever necessarily a conscious thing. Like I was just like, whoa, I see what they're, but it was more just like through, it's like, I don't know, it was a Karate Kid, like, or something like that. It's like learn by doing. It's like, I was just having to do it anyway, because, you were having to make friends in different schools and different countries and stuff like that. And then
response to the environment that you're in. Yeah.
And then certainly kind of going to drama school, always being kind of interested in acting and that kind of, not necessarily putting on a different face per se, like, but kind of just it's all kind of melded together into this. Yeah, exactly. But it's all kind of melded together into this kind of, just how to behave appropriately in the different environments you get in. So like I shoot for different clients, and so some of them are high-end luxury. And so you're in environments where you're kind of just like, you're having to wear a suit and stuff like that while you're shooting. And then equally, I shoot for small brands that are kind of, that are friends of mine or whatever, and I can, be casual. And, but it's just, you kind of learn, you're like, okay, I can behave this way, and then you slowly kind of like, okay, I can reveal a little bit more of myself, or if I just have to be super professional all the time. And so that's just something that I kind of have, I don't know necessarily always had, but certainly become maybe a little more aware of it, of having to use it professionally, as I say, since I've been working as a photographer, and just kind of, gauging, you're like, right, I can joke around with these people, I have to be a little more serious with these people, X, Y, and Z.
It's pretty cool. So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk to you about was, how do you deal with change in your life? And it seems to be that sort of adaptability is really your sort of X-Men mutant power, which is interesting.
It was weird. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're.
No, it's weird because when you sent through that question, I immediately wrote down, I was like, I do not like change. And I was like, and then just answering that there about the adaptability, I'm kind of like, it depends what it is. Like, adaptability in social situations and change in social situations, sure. But like, I like my routine. I do like a routine. And so, but I think part of, as I say, moving around quite a bit as a kid and living in a lot of different places, growing up, you just have to kind of have to roll with it. You can't be upset all the time about it. And I think it's just more as I've gotten older, I'm kind of now, there's certain things you want in life that you're kind of just like, oh, I like my space. I like, I like my things. I like, I like the people I like around me, that kind of stuff. But I've always,
because again, we were sort of talking about change there, and as you were growing up, you were constantly having to change and adapt, and that's kind of how you got to. So you were going out of your comfort zone often. You were kind of in that uncomfortable or challenging zone where you really had to expand your margins. And then with your work at the start, maybe it was a little bit like that as well, but now you're pretty comfortable with it. It seems pretty whatever. And then you go to Australia, and on the way back, you have a panic attack because you've been in a comfort zone now for a while. Now you've been pushed back out into your, stress zone. So that was the first time you've had a panic attack?
If that even what it was, which it probably was. It was like, but just, it was really weird. I just remember being, it was because of a combination of so many things. A combination of, like, my folks were out there as well. So like we had literally just had a day where, we were at the beach in the morning. We had this, lovely, lunch outdoors at my sister's backyard. Like, the kids are playing. She's got two kids, one who's like Noah's age and a younger one. And like, we're all kind of hanging around, and suddenly that happened. And it was just like, we have half an hour to basically leave our holiday and our family a week early, and we don't even, and go into this situation where it's just like, we don't know what's going to happen, either getting to the airport in Perth, getting to the airport in Singapore, getting to London, and then even, and then also, packing in half an hour, as well as dealing, with trying to keep my son, make sure he was okay and it wasn't affecting him, as well as the to be honest, the cost of stuff. It was just suddenly like, oh, we had to outlay suddenly this extra huge expense on top of what was already, to Australia, like an expensive trip as is. And that all just kind of went whoom, and you had 5 minutes. And this is the thing. And my sister, I love my sister, but like, she's not the most patient person. She was just, and she's a doctor. She's a lot more used to dealing with stressful situations than I am. So she's kind of like, she can very much break something down and be like, this is what you have to do. And I've not really had to deal with things like that. And so, yeah.
And if you did, you knew in advance, because you knew you were heading into a new environment, so you knew to prepare for it. Whereas here, it came out of the blue.
Yeah, and it's just the sheer magnitude of what all of that was just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was just like, just kind of. I remember not hugely, but I just remember, struggling, really struggling to breathe a bit, just tightness in my chest, and I was just kind of and then basically was able to. Basically, I didn't collapse necessarily, but I had to sit down. I was just I had to sit down on the bed in the room that we were in, and I was just kind of okay, and my wife was amazing. She was just kind of look, we have to do this. Just, she's just breathe, and then I'll just start packing the clothes and stuff. And so after about 3 minutes or so of just kind of trying to get myself centered again, then I was kind of right. And then the kind of the minute you kind of were, the minute we started doing the tasks and, kind of right, get the bags packed, this is all we need for the airport. This is cool in the car, right? We're at the airport. The minute we got to the airport, I was fine again. Back in the zone and kind of just dealing with, right, we have to do this trip now. It was not fun.
So it's pretty extreme and traumatic event.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other situations that I've either seen you have to adapt to change, or I could have a guess at.
Are we allowed to swear on this?
It's a bit late now.
Well, I'm or just because all I could think of was just of what the situations that you've seen me in. It's basically just me I don't know, sandbagging it in the gym, and I'm just being a little bitch about stuff, and just being not necessarily change, but just being faced with kind of stuff, and it's with stuff that I'm I don't like this, and just being but it's similar in a sense of in a slightly smaller version of it, but kind of essentially being put in a situation that was making me uncomfortable, that I'm reacting, and I'm not necessarily I was reacting angrily with the trip back, but certainly I know that is another reaction of mine, was the kind of frustration at myself, and kind of that what I wanted to happen wasn't happening.
It's that loss of control. You're no longer in control of the situation, and what's happening is happening. So you get 3 minutes into your workout and you think, oh dear, I'm in this for the long haul now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was weird. It was any of the workout stuff was always, I remember there's basically been, and it's weird because that in itself taught me, a lot of times it's okay, it's things happen, they teach you, I'll go away and I'll have sleep on it. I'll be, because I get very up in my head about stuff and be and I'm constantly I don't like the way that I handled that situation. And I think about how I could have done it better, and then weirdly, it kind of then, in a sense, again, not something I'm conscious maybe trying to do, but kind of that knowing if you're finding those certain triggers are happening again, you're kind of the frustration sets in, just being recognizing those and just being okay, there's no need to don't let it escalate or don't let it elevate to the point it got to last time. Bring it back down. What's happening. It's absolutely fine. And just trying to kind of handle that.
Yeah, that's cool. It's so kind of my experience of this recently. You'll like this one. Hopefully, it's behind the lens. Was with the gym closing down, all of a sudden we're trying to, give people the opportunity to have workouts at home.
Yeah.
So we're recording videos, and part of recording a video is having to watch that video back.
Oh yeah.
Edit it, re-watch it back, edit it again, and then put it back. Which at the start, everything's new. We're reacting. That's fine. I can cope with that.
Yeah.
And then about 2 weeks in, I'm watching myself on camera and I hate the delivery of that line. I just don't like how I said that. And then, well, can I edit that out? No, I can't. It's too late, you idiot. So then move on to the next thing. And then what I found was over the period of about 4 days, I went from a state of this is okay to I can't cope with this anymore. This is horrendous. So what I did was I tried to turn it into a positive. This is an opportunity where I'm getting to see myself coach from your point of view, and I'm finding myself very irritating.
Well, thank God you brought it up, man. I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but joking.
So even simple things, when I pause, automatically what comes out of my mouth is, and not only is that relatively normal, but if I look at the sound curve it makes on the editing software, that noise is just giving me nightmares. So being really conscious to try and not say that. Yeah. And then little phrases, in order to not say that, I then start to say something else to compensate. So I was just trying to work on communication skills.
There's things like, like listening to yourself on tape, watching yourself on video. Like, I think those are two of the hardest things to watch and be fine with, like to watch and be like, yeah, I look and sound pretty good. You're kind of, it's a hard thing to do. And especially if it's something that you're, having to, in the situation you just described, like do it on a regular basis, do it in a sense from the time that we've known each other. What I've gathered is, and it's understandable because I'm similar in certain respects, is you wanting to have a certain level of perfection, a level of, you're kind of like, I want it to be good. And so you're kind of like, you are looking out for those things where you're kind of like, and it's easier maybe if you're recording somebody else, you can be like, right, could you just, watch out for this next time? But if it's yourself, it's even harder to kind of, and for things like that are essentially like vocal, like personality tics that have been ingrained in you for, however many years you've been on the earth. It's like to kind of suddenly go, stop doing that. It's tough to do. And it's one of the things, I mean, I mean, one of the things I'd recommend would also be just like giving yourself a break. It's like, it's more often than not, it's never going to be as bad as you think it is, whatever it is. And, as long as what you're getting across, as long as it makes sense, it's coherent, it's kind of like, hey, that's all good. And then keep working on those things and, trying to, just trying to get better at things. I mean, but balancing out, as you say, being able to give yourself a break with stuff.
For sure. And I think the other thing I've tried to do is also acknowledge the fact that watching yourself back repeatedly over and over is probably not a healthy thing to do anyway. So with the way I've recorded stuff, I've tried to move away from that sort of camera set in place, speak to the camera and then do the thing, speak to the camera, and instead try and record it as if I'm just doing it. So kind of like this, we're just having a conversation. So this week I tried out where I did a Zoom class with Mark and we just did it one-on-one. And that way I could kind of interact with him. He could just watch and it felt more natural. It wasn't as staged, which I think helps.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because as well, I mean, this is, the situation as a whole anyway is creating, weirdness and, new things and people trying out like, new ways of interacting. And, it's kind of, it's going to be, it's going to be awkward. There's going to be like a learning curve to it, and yeah, like you say, a lot of time, and then bring it back to application in the real world. It's like learning what works for you. It's like, this is, like you kind of do it and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't really like that. And then you do something else. You're like, oh, that felt a lot better. And you're like, right, cool. Going forward, I'll use that and get rid of this and then perfect that thing that you're been using and, change what you need.
100%. Other question, or the final question I kind of wanted to ask about change was, I know you don't like change. Okay, you're getting old.
I'm
Things
better
are
now.
getting
The one
comfortable.
thing I wanted to say about change quickly was just is that it's as much as I don't like it in terms of change the routine or everything like that, it is something that I've become aware of as I've gotten older, the fact that I don't like it, and then the fact that I'm like, to try to embrace it a little more and just be like, anytime you're challenged and anything that's going to make you, do something you've never, get you out of your comfort zone, can only ever be a good thing. And so to kind of just try to do it to the, like, don't freak out and shut down about it. You just try to do it to the best of your ability. Anyways, sorry.
So are there any changes then in the past couple of years that you've made that have actually ended up sort of transforming your life, be that in relationships or with your work or with your health?
Changes, yeah. It's kind of weird because, like, certainly last, because when I was thinking about this, there's I've had, so 5 years ago went full-time freelance with the photography, so going away from a regular paycheck and the kind of the solidness of a job, to something that was a little more, uncertain. Having a kid 3 years ago, and then moving 2 years. Yeah, all the stuff. Tick it off. It's like, so it was all a bit, certainly like kind of in the last 5 years, I've kind of hit those big things where I'm just kind of like, crap. And it's, yeah. And so, I don't know, like, I do a lot of stuff where I'm kind of like, I don't know what changes I've made though. It's kind of like, I've survived, I think, by just like, I need to keep treading water. And if I stop treading water, I'm going to drown.
Okay.
And so, but then also recognizing that that's not a good thing, and that's maybe impacting my relationship with family, friends, my health, in terms of like fitness, what I eat, what I drink, whatever. And kind of recognizing that, as it is okay to switch off as well. Because certainly when I first started working freelance, you feel like you have to be on all the time. You have to, you have to be reachable on the phone. Like I for a while felt like I had to, answer any email that came in, no matter what time of night, what time of the day it was. So whether it was in the evenings or whether it was on the weekends, I was just like, nope, I'm gonna, I need to respond to this. This is like, I need to make sure I get this work. And so certainly, like, something I've changed in the last couple of years is just realizing that it's okay to, two things. One, it's okay to switch off on the hours when you should be switching off. So, like, in the evenings when you're spending time with your family, or the weekends, when, out of office hours. And then also the power of saying no, to be honest, as well. That's been a big thing. Because initially I was like, I gotta say yes to everything. And you ended up saying yes to things that you were like, this is really crappy, actually. Like, you're getting underpaid for it. The demands that are being placed upon you aren't exactly great. And so, kind of eventually realizing, the making the change, you're like, yeah, no, I can say no to things. And then the minute that happened, you're like, not that I went wild with it, wild with the power of it, though. You're like, oh my gosh, like, this is incredible. But it's funny because all of this kind of feeds back a little bit into what we were discussing earlier about, confidence and stuff, like just valuing yourself, valuing your worth, and, certainly not just as a person, but like what you're bringing to the table in whatever career it is that you're doing. It's kind of like, this is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the table, and this is why it's valuable.
I mean, even it, in that sort of interview situation, it's like, here's the deal, potential new client of my photography, mad skills. We're going to sit down here and discuss terms, but let's be real. Your time is valuable. My time is valuable. Let's be serious. Okay. If it's not going to work for me, I'm going to say no. If I don't think I can give you the best, photographs that you deserve, I'm going to say no. So here's what we're going to do. And then we go from there. And like you said, it's a very powerful realization to know that your own time is valuable. It's the biggest commodity in the world.
It was, it's really strange because it was, even like one of the things that I was always, it wasn't as a change because it's like, I feel like my personality, I'm kind of wired this way anyway. Like I very much am like, I want everybody to like me. Like I want everybody to be, and everybody who doesn't like him, I was just like, why do they like me? Like, I really don't understand. I'm like, I'm a really nice guy. Like I am super, like, I'm really funny and I'm really, and I'm like, really, like, why? I don't get it. But just that kind of trying to be nice and then trying to be nice to everybody. Like, it's like, that's one of the easiest things in the world to do. And it costs nothing. And just trying to be even nice with that kind of, when you're trying to steer somebody to where you're kind of just like a client where you're like, look, I'd love to work with you. But I don't think what you're after, I'm going to be able to provide what you're after. And I've, and then going back, I've kind of had to say no to things that I'm like, that would have been amazing in terms of, pay or whatever. But I'm like, I know I'm not going to be able to deliver what it is that you're after. And I'm like, here's another photographer. Here's, somebody who I think would be able to help you out. And then like, and it, because I know you weren't asking this, but plug, sponsor, hashtag sponsor, paid ad. But no, I mean, it was hilarious. The finding the gym finding CrossFit Ballymena was just like a huge change in my life, and one of the things that has had the most positive impact on it. Because for so many things, like it was when we first moved over, like, and having had no, so going back to, as I said, these massive changes, like this kind of, we're moving, not only are we, we bought our first house, but we're moving, properly, and we're moving overseas, like from London, overseas, but you know what I mean? Not that far, but I'm like, overseas sounds like I'm going across the Atlantic, but yeah, and then having had a kid, like where, we'd been flat out with him for like the last, couple of years or whatever, and not really having had the time to do anything that was kind of particularly active, and, you're kind of just trying to get by. And I remember one of the first things I said to you when I came in for the introductory class, whatever, was just like, I'd seen, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people had, like, seen a lot of stuff on, on the internet and YouTube and social media, whatever, about CrossFit, and being a bit like, this looks a little intimidating, and like it just being a bit kind of like, let's do it. And I was kind of just like, I don't know about it, but I was just like, I gotta go do. I was like,
job to use, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, nice tank top, bro. Like, what a nice singlet. Oh, it really shows your trapezoids. And I was just like, well, I'll come give it a go. And, I was just like, the introductory class was a fantastic idea. And I remember just meeting you and kind of was immediately kind of like, okay, cool. I like this dude. Like, he seems, your philosophy and kind of what you were espousing, where it wasn't so much the broing out too much, but it was kind of more, because things that I wanted to regain control of in terms of my health and my fitness and my body was like, flexibility, stretch, a bit more strength, and like fucking aerobic capacity. Because like I remember, like when we were like picking Noah up one time and carrying him to the top of the stairs, and we had a baby gate. I remember putting him over the baby gate and just like my back went, and I was just like, there's no reason this should be happening. And I collapsed in a heap on the stairs. And I was just swearing my ass off. I was just going, ah. And like Noah's on the other side, just kind of going like, what's going on? Like, you know, he didn't really know what was going on. I'm just like there. My wife couldn't hear me because she was right next to me vacuuming the stairs. And she could hear me. And I'm kind of like, why is she not coming over to see why? Like, what's wrong with me? And like,
why is my life so terrible?
I hit her with my foot accidentally, you know, as I was riding around. Anyway, so that was a big thing where I was just like, you know, I'm in the car and I'm turning to look over my shoulder and my neck, you know, there's all this stuff. And I was just like, anyway. And also it was to try to integrate myself a little more into the community where we come over. Like we came over and I was like, firstly I was like, I have to maintain my relationship with all my clients in London. So I was flying over as much as I could to go and shoot, taking any work that was coming. Cause I was like, I didn't want anybody to think just because I moved over that they couldn't shoot with me. And so I was essentially either just at home or working like in London or in Europe and stuff like that. So I never really had a chance to kind of like meet anybody or make new friends or anything like that. And so this kind of the environment, like the gym kind of sorted like those two elements of my life, like where I was just like, was able to meet some people, like some really great people, get that kind of social interaction that I really need because I'm quite a social creature. And at the same time, get a little bit of fitness back. Cause I remember I used to I played rugby when I was at school. And in my 6th year, I was on the first team. And I can't remember when she said it to me, but I was just like, it's so savage with my mom. I was just like, thanks, Mom. Like, whoa, like really throwing shade at me. But she was like, and this is all stuck with me, which I was just like, man, like, this is really a little messed up. But she said to me, she meant it like offhand, like she didn't, but it really stuck with me. She went, I can't remember when this was. This was either just after preseason or at the end of the rugby season. And she said to me, she says, you'll never be this fit in your life again. Ooh, and I was just like, and she meant like it as a compliment in the sense that she was just like, you know, like, this is incredible, you know, like you are at the peak of your physical fitness. But I remember this is always stuck with me. I was just like, whoa, she's just kind of like, it's all downhill from here.
Here's the compliment.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hey, Mom. And so I remember, just like having, like when I was able to string together, like, and admittedly, like when I first joined, it was like a bit sporadic because I was still kind of like, you know, you go away at times being away for a week, whatever, but then also times where I was there for like 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. And certainly like after Christmas being at home apart from 1 week in Italy, like being here for like 3 months, 2 months. And I was just like, and like getting to a point where you're like, this is really like positively impacted my life. And I was like, so glad that I had made that choice to change that element of kind of just being like, you know, kind of doing a few bits and pieces, but kind of just doing something that was but that impacted so many other aspects of it. Like it was, you know, no more, you know, ridiculously weird pain where you sit down on the couch and you pull your groin, you know, just kind of like my couch is so soft, like how does this happen? Damn it! Or like, you know, being able to play with my kid and like, or you know, just stupid stuff like being able to play. This is ridiculous, but being able to play in like a charity dodgeball tournament, like, and not being gassed like at the end of it, just being able to go like full force at the 50-year-old women that were playing. Oh my God, they had no idea. Yeah, exactly. Heads up. No, and so it's good. I mean, and it's funny because I never necessarily thought of myself as that kind of person. I've always enjoyed activeness, but I've never necessarily thought of myself as a person who needed it to be so regular in their lives.
Awesome.
And I am, which is great.
Well, that's really cool because, I mean, like you say, you went through all the major markers. You kind of had a big move. You had a career change. You had a kid, and your life just, to quote Will Smith, got turned upside down. And then, nice, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this has given you the opportunity to sort of correct and get yourself back to being you while still having these new integrations in your life. So the interesting thing for me is going to be, what do you do next? Where's going to be your next thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in what sense? Like, in terms of just in general in life, or in
That's
career, family? What?
Counter question, Jamie. So, is there going to be another significant step for you that you have planned? Whether that's another change in your career, or maybe you want to, develop a new relationship with your business relationship or whatever. Yeah, I had to be careful there.
Like, close the door. Like it comes to that moment, just kind of like, what did he say? No. I mean, it's funny because something certainly that lockdown has been a nightmare for this. I don't know how you found this, but I have so much time to think. Like, so you get trapped in your mind a lot, and it's kind of. And the thing that I've always struggled with is that, in terms of my career, has always been when I went freelance, is that there's not really a professional ladder that you're climbing. It's like, essentially I've reached the top of my ladder already. It's like, it's literally kind of like, want to be freelance and be able to make a living out of it. Done. Well, I'm like, how do I become junior vice president of photography? And it's like, well, that doesn't work.
I'm really successful. I'm bored now.
And so it's a tough thing to be kind of like, well, what do you want to, and I don't particularly have any career aspirations where I'm like, I want to go and shoot massive fashion campaigns. Like, I don't want to go shoot something for Burberry, or I don't know, I don't want to shoot the cover of Vogue or whatever. Like, the book that I did, was quite a personal, kind of intimate, kind of snapshot of these kind of 20 men who are in the industry, their lives and their style and stuff like that, and where their family and where they live and their environments and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that. And I think that kind of was like something that I wanted to try to integrate more into my work, and in a sense, almost the lockdown stuff that I've been creating in the studio is allowed me to kind of explore, has allowed me, but it's not something I've consciously wanted to do, but has allowed me to inject a little bit more of my personality and stamp a little bit more of what I want into the direction of my career. Maybe is that, like, so the stuff I've been shooting, even though I am the subject of the images, I've always wanted to see, like, lighthearted, funny, humorful, characterful stuff in menswear, in the photography that I like. And I very rarely see that in my industry. Like, it's a lot of the times, it's guys in suits, like, being cool and, like, smoking cigars, exactly, blue steel in it, Le Tigre in it, like, they're the same look. But all that, it's all that. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, like, one of the things that I always kind of was wanting to share out of this is, like, that a lot of the photography that I was drawn to when I first got into it, that then I was then trying to kind of replicate the tone of with this, is like, you can look good, the person can look good in the clothes and still be, that aspirational side of it where you're like, oh, I want to look like that guy, that's cool. But also kind of like, this is hilarious. This is, this is a really funny kind of thing. And even just, it isn't not even hugely funny, but just like a little kind of like, oh, that's good.
In traditional men's fashion photography, it's something that actually puts me off. So if I see a heavily processed photo, or I see, heavily posed, or, it just looks awkward to me. And I actually find much more joy from people in the gym when they're in their raw state, where like, you know, the hair is actually, you know, somehow connected into their beard, and you know they've got sweat coming out of their ears, and it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you can see the enjoyment out of life that they're having,
Yeah.
whether or not they look a state or not. And it's cool to have the truth come out. And I guess if there's a way that you can get the truth out, that, you know, clothes are there, they serve a function. The function is to shield your body and make you feel confident. And that, to me, doesn't necessarily mean, you know, always being in supreme control, but actually having the control from the emotion you have.
Mm.
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, it's like no, absolutely. I mean, it kind of comes back to, I don't think I mentioned this, but like it comes back to it comes back to authenticity. I feel a lot of the times it's, you know, whatever that may be, like as long as you're able to show an authentic, as you say, like, you know, that kind of that real side of things. This is one of the reasons why I enjoy the reportage kind of side of things, and like shooting weddings even, is like, it's trying to find those, you know, those wonderful, beautiful, natural, candid moments in life, and, you know, and trying to, and it's difficult then, like, how do you bring that through into something that is generally, naturally opposed and contrived environment and scene, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, so this is something, like I say, this is something that I've been thinking about for 9 weeks. But it's like, what's the next step? What do I want to do? And it's funny because I've always been a bit like, not necessarily, not fatalistic, like everything happens for a reason, but kind of, I've very rarely taken much control over the direction my career is headed because I haven't had to. Like, stuff has just kind of fallen into place, and I've been like, oh great, okay, let's, you know, we'll do this. But now, is kind of, as I'm, you know, approaching my 40s, and with a family, with a kid, you know, it's like there's all these responsibilities that start weighing on you. You start feeling like you need to kind of like, I need to be a little more in control of what I'm doing, and I'd like to be more in control of what I'm doing, and not necessarily just kind of allowing life to happen to me, but allowing, you know, but trying to take some element of control of that. But it's tricky, like making that choice and being like, right, okay, this is what I'm going to go and do. And I haven't necessarily, I mean, weirdly, I've maybe made a subconscious choice by doing that studio stuff, is that, and I know certainly kind of, it's difficult because I'm like, it's me in the photographs, and I'm kind of like, oh God, I don't want to, it's just like, I don't want to oversaturate, or, you know, like, I'm like, hopefully people aren't getting sick of it, and like stuff I'm doing. Like, I love my wife dearly, and she has been my sounding board for all these images where I'm kind of just like, she must be getting sick of it. But I'm kind of like, I show her, and I'm kind of like, I was like, I think this is hilarious. What do you think? And she's just like, no, never put that on the internet. Like, cool. Okay. And, you know, like, you know, that one gets trashed. And like, like, I'll come back to it like 2 days later and be like, I don't know, it's pretty good. Like the one where I'm flossing my butt, you know, with a art, like, this, I don't know. I think this got some life in it. I mean, so it's one of those things where maybe I've made a choice to kind of like, this is the path that I'm kind of going down, and what something may come of that, but who knows? Yeah, it's a lot of the times it's just trying to do what I'm doing. I think it's making a choice now to try to keep doing what I'm doing, and being authentic to myself, and putting, you know, more of me out there and into the work, rather than just kind of turning up and shooting, and yeah, and just trying to do everything that I can to the best of my ability. That's a huge thing for me. It's just like, no matter, you know, don't half-ass anything. Like, you know, you gotta and it's funny because that kind of that's that perfectionism, I was kind of saying, that I feel your pain, in that I'm like, I want everything, in my head, I'm like, I want this to be amazing. But at the same time, trying to recognize it, like, just do it to the best that you can. Like, even if what you can in that minute isn't maybe as good as you want it to be, it will get better. Just keep working at it.
So is there anything strategy-wise you do sort of every day to ensure that happened? Like, you have a good day, that you do the best of your ability, and you tick off, today was a win?
It's funny, like, I mean, specifically with regards to photography, I've learned that, because I could have a day, like, so for example, speaking about the studio stuff, like, I have had a day where I'm kind of just like, you go in there, it's a room away from, where the family is, so you can kind of be on there on your own and just do some crazy shit or whatever. Go in there, put on some tunes, and just do stupid stuff. And you can have a day where you're kind of like, this is all gold. Like, oh my God, like, incredible, just like shot after shot after shot. And then you'll have days where you're kind of like trying something and you're just like, this is just not working. And I've learned that it's to just let go of that stuff a little more. Like, before I would have maybe being similar, as I was saying about, like, in other aspects of life, like in the gym, doing a workout that you're kind of like, or a movement that you're kind of just like, I'm not able to. It's just kind of like, let it go, come back to it at another time. It's you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. You're not going to be, especially something that's creative. It's so hard. You can't just sit and go and, right, I'm going to go and create masterpieces every time I step in. So you can't do that. And it's been like it's weirdly, doing more of that stuff has taught me a lot about that. To kind of be like, look, if it's not working, come out of the studio. Like, go back, just chill out, go read, go, I don't know, go play football outside with Noah or whatever. Just try not to get so wound up by it.
I think the interesting thing there is the consistency. So if you're doing it every day, or however many days a week you do it, it's staying true to that. And then you start it and you decide, nah, today's not the day. Cool. Yeah. At least you give it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long it was. And then the days that you go in there and it's like, oh my goodness, quick, call up your mum, call up your dad, get them around here, let them see what's happening here. This is freaking awesome.
Exactly.
Then you lean into that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's funny because it might be slightly contradictory, like saying do everything to the best of your ability, and at the same time know when it's okay just to be like, right, come back to it another time. Like, know when you can't do it. I mean, it's also because you're not going to be able to do it to the best of your ability all the time, but you can try it. You can try for that. But,
yeah. And so the last couple of things coming up.
Sure.
Based off everything you've got, I mean, there's a lot there going on in your life. Is there something in particular you're most grateful for that helps sort of fuel what's going on? Or
it's funny because I I wrote this down and I was just like, and then as I was writing, I was just like, no, I can't say that. I have to say this first, of course. And then I was like, all caps, this. So I initially was like, I am incredibly grateful for the fact that I am able to do something and have a career in something that I love to do. Like, as annoying as everything, the day-to-day, the kind of all the little annoying, working with annoying clients, working, whatever, like working in challenging environments sometimes, you're like, you want sun and it's raining, whatever. Every now and again, you'll have a moment where it's kind of, and I'm very lucky that I'll have that kind of comes around, you know, you're in, I don't know, south of France or whatever, and you're just kind of like, this is my job. And you're just kind of like, this is fucking great. You know, I'm not having worked all manner of jobs leading up until kind of finding this industry and then finding my little niche within this industry. You know, I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that I am able to do what I do and I love that I do that. And the proviso there was, I was just like, my family, like, is the thing that I'm the most grateful for.
Yeah.
I wrote the career thing, and I was just like, I can't say that, like, as the first thing that I'm like, no, the first thing that I am most grateful for, of course, is my family. I mean, and it ties into, I mean, of course, they tie into what I'm doing, because I'm like, there's no way that I could do what I do without the support of my wife. And the reason I do everything is for my son, for my family, for her. So yeah, those are probably the things that I'm most grateful for in my life. I'm very lucky in those two regards.
Okay. And then sort of last thing with Noah. Noah's how old?
3.
3. Whew. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here today. This doesn't come around very often, but I'm going to install you as a dictator. Okay.
Oh yeah.
What would you mandate that would have a positive impact on society? Obviously, this would be before you got assassinated.
Saying I would get assassinated, man. Like, hold on a second. I would be like a benevolent dictator. Like, people would love me. All right. Like,
yeah, I know you think you're funny, but yeah.
There'd be that one guy who I'm like, why doesn't this guy like me, man? Assassinated. Okay.
He's been going out shooting people. We'll go shoot him.
I really like shooting people. So, who am I to tell you what you can and can't do? Well, I'm a dictator, so I can. It's tough because it's like it's weird, like there's so much, especially right now, like it's an interesting thing to talk about right now because of everything that's going on. And like one of the conversations that I have regularly with family and friends is what's going to come out the end of all of this, like what's going to come out of this, you know, or is this going to change us as a society for the better, you know, is what things are going to be left over, what remnants are we going to have. And I think certainly something that I think a lot of people have experienced is that need for I was going to say that need for proximity, that need for human interaction, like that kind of, you know, being away, and also that kind of a slightly slower pace of life, which has been great. And I think that's certainly something that I'd love if I was a dictator to kind of instill on my minions a little bit. Because I think having come from an environment like London and, you know, traveling back there for work quite regularly and other major cities and stuff like that, and just seeing the sheer pace of stuff, I'm just like, this is manic. You know, transport, you know, congestion, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm hoping that what is maybe come out of the end of this is the fact that, like, you know, where people aren't necessarily having to travel to work, you know, companies, businesses are realizing that they don't have to, that all their employees have to be at the office work. And some people, you know, I'm like, hey, you like going to the office, or you like going to your job? That's cool, man. But like, also there are going to be people who've been like, actually being at home, being able to work from home has made, you know, I can spend more time with my kids. Like, it's made things a lot easier. So yeah, I certainly hope that I'd love to see a slower pace to life, just to give people, to allow people to feel like they can just be a little more present in their day-to-day lives. And then going back slightly to something I said earlier about being nice. Like, I'd be like, I don't know how you enforce that as a law, but I'd be like, be nice to everybody. It's just like, again, it costs nothing. It means, you know, it can mean so much to somebody depending on, you know, who it is that you're talking to, but just that little that little bit of kindness and patience, goes a long way, and is, again, something that, it would be great if everybody kind of had that, or, was able to take that second to think about before, you cuss somebody out or whatever on the road, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And just being like, hey, all good.
With the slower pace of life, I think in general, people have more tolerance, and they have a better ability to just, like you say, take a second and consider the options here. I don't need to maybe blare that horn. I don't need to call that, idiot in the shop an idiot. They're, maybe trying to get back to catch an appointment at their house or something, and that's why they're in a hurry, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's something, especially having started running my own business, I think I get really frustrated in the normal expectations of what is work. And for a lot of people, very unfortunately, I think it is 9 to 5, which, seems appealing on the surface. That's when I start, that's when I finish. But actually what happens is, who actually has work to do that takes them from 9 to 5 days a week?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
If you could do all of that work in 2 days and then have 5 days off, that would be incredible. So if you can get the same work done, why should we be stuck with a certain parameter of work? And especially with being in lockdown, what I've discovered is that I am hyper productive between the hours of 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning. So as long as I get up early, I can cram about 4 to 6 hours work in those 2 hours. Unfortunately, in my normal day job, I work from 6 until 8, which means that all the work that I could have done then gets done when I'm actually not very focused or whatever. So I think that you're onto something there. If we could figure out how to schedule flexible schedules, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it'd certainly be interesting, as I say, like, to see what comes out the end of all of this. And it's interesting seeing places like, New Zealand has already, I don't know if it's come in or if it's being proposed, but the Prime Minister, Jacinta Ardern or whatever, said that she's proposed the 4-day week there. I mean, this was something that was coming in, that was being talked about before this all happened anyway. But I know that everybody was kind of just like a bit, I mean, I don't know, like, I think even I remember myself just at the time just being like a bit dismissive of the idea, like, or not to say dismissive of the idea, but dismissive of the idea that people would, like, companies would actually be like into this. And now I'm kind of like, actually this maybe will have changed all that, like, that people will be, much more into this. So one can only hope. But yeah, definitely to your point about, that kind of like just, more creative thinking in terms of how the work week, the working day, whatever is structured. Like, I've always been a huge believer in the sense of, like, look, don't take the piss. People will be able to get their work done. Don't think, if, like, trust the people are adults, like, trust them to be able to get what they're needing to get done. You'll be able to very quickly tell if they're not doing what you need them to do. And then that's when you maybe kind of have to be like, okay, well, look, we need you to be in blah, blah, blah. But like you say, if somebody can get their, working week done in 2 days, it's like, well,
how about it?
Yeah.
As long as the outcome's achieved, why stretch it out?
Yeah.
All right, dude, I have taken up more than a respectable amount of your time, so I thank you very much for coming in. That's sweet. Mm-hmm.